So for me, astrology has always been to elucidate these spiritual mysteries for myself
Mhm.
and for my family and for my children, and to be a better father, be a better husband, like to take what astrology provides to better my own personal
Mhm.
existence.
Mhm.
Right. So that's one thing. Taking and then moving from that to I'm going to go help other people with that. See,
Mhm.
and like I said, though, and the honest truth is that that's not what I want to do professionally,
Mhm.
as in being, at least right now,
Yeah.
being a professional consulting astrologer. And the interesting thing is that, like, I've always been so interested in psychology as an area of study,
Mhm.
and the human psyche as an
Right.
area, right? Like, just anyway. So it's like, it's nothing new in my life as
Uh-huh.
far as what I've always been interested in this. I just
Right.
didn't know I was interested in it, like astrology, you know?
Yeah. So if astrology fits the same place, or maybe is a deeper place, or uh if it fills the same maybe inner space for you as psychology always has, right? Like you've always been interested in psychology, but you've never felt the desire to be a psychologist.
Exactly.
You're interested in what astrology can do for you on a personal level, but you don't have a desire to like use that as a tool to further other people's processes. Then it
Right.
sounds like, although you have a very I'm what I find is interesting or kind of paradoxical, which I'm still trying to like, I have questions about, um being of the nature that I am, which is like very much interested in other people's processes, but it's like as logical and intellectual as your approach is to astrology, and as much as you're interested in psychology for personal self-understanding or for your life, and as much as you love to teach, all of those components, like a natural teacher and person who shares knowledge, those components all calculate into my brain as like, well, you'd make a fantastic consulting astrologer or academic astrologer, but almost from the get-go, like one of the first conversations I think you and I had, where I was like, well, do you want to do consulting astrology? Because it seems like, there was like your intellectual interest in it is in astrology, and your like philosophical interest, and then also your interest in psychology and Hillman and you, even Jung, I think to some extent. It's like you're not
Campbell,
necessarily
definitely.
Campbell.
Joseph Campbell. Yep.
Yeah, so you're not necessarily interested in like integrating all of those to then like share that knowledge specifically of astrology and archetypal astrology and psychological astrology with other people. That doesn't feel like your life work, whether in a teaching
Teaching would
setting.
be,
Okay, that's
definitely.
okay.
Teaching,
So
yes.
okay, so you would be interested in teaching
Definitely.
astrology.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. That
Yeah,
would
yeah.
be, if I'm like creating my dream vision about what I would
Mhm.
do, would be, it
Mhm.
would be teaching people.
Okay. Right, right, right.
But like,
So,
how do you do that though when you don't go through the astrological, like the counseling role? See, first, or you don't have the experience, like a Stephen
mm,
Arroyo, all these people who are, or even Gemini Brett,
mhm.
um, you know, to give just a current example, or
Right.
even Frank Salzano,
Yeah.
right? All these
Yeah.
people are consulting astrologers.
Right. Yeah.
It's like,
Well,
that's the authority, really. That's why you don't have to be credentialed. Your credentials can just be your thousands of clients that you've seen.
yeah.
See? So then when I got the ISAR or ESAR exam results back, and that was going to be my entry into the claim of, you can listen to me as, maybe I'm not consulting, but I passed this, the hardest exam there is. So obviously
Mhm. Uh-huh.
I can speak with some authority. Just, but I have, you know,
So your goal was
the
to
footnotes or
teach.
whatever.
Your goal was to teach, and
It,
that
well,
has shifted potentially.
I don't know. Well, I wouldn't say that I had a goal. My goal was to peer past the veil.
Mhm.
and see what I could see and see what astrology could show me.
But your
That was
goal
my goal.
but your goal in
Is
taking the ESAR exam was the goal of credentialing to then possibly teach with that knowledge that you got from behind the veil.
if I had made that goal, which I didn't.
Mhm. Mhm.
See,
Mhm.
'cause like you pointed out,
Right.
you were like, "You should take the ESAR," and I was like, "Oh, all right." I don't think I would if you hadn't encouraged me to do it, I wouldn't have done it,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
honestly.
why this will be our last episode. No. Just kidding. You're like, if you
No.
hadn't No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
No.
kidding. But yeah,
Well,
you didn't it wasn't like you didn't articulate that goal within yourself. Like I brought you to awareness of, hey, this is a CAP thing. You can do it. It'll show your proficiency if you want to take it, whatever you want to do with that. But then from there, you didn't literally think to yourself, okay, well, I'm going to do that so I can teach astrology.
no,
Okay.
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
No. It's just when I started daydreaming about, okay, well, now I'm ESAR certified. Okay, now what?
Uh-huh.
And if I were to have answered that question, it would have been, well, I'm going to teach,
Mhm.
which, which I can still do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing's stopping. And that's the thing. It's like what the real test for me is, what do I do with this? Because this plugs into my Chiron wound,
Mhm.
this whole
Mhm.
thing. And the challenge I've had in my life of being accepted by authority, society, father, 10th house, in a word, right? And that's where my wound is at that can't heal. And this plugged right into that. And so a lot of the reason why I think I have been so Promethean is my reaction to that.
Mhm.
Well, okay, you're not going to accept me. That's fine. I don't want to be accepted anyway. I'm going to go be Prometheus. It's just, I'll just take what I want from you. Like, and you don't even need to, you know,
Mhm. Yeah.
you can
I'll
keep
get
your footnotes.
I'll completely exist outside of that system because
Yeah.
I don't know if that system rejected me or if I even needed the validation of that system to begin with. It's or, was there a misunderstanding between me and that system that I
That's what
could
it is.
right. And that's I think it's like I was joking around with David about this because, he's very curious and very much encouraging of, he's a natural mentor, right? Like that. And he's
Mm.
an astrologer that wanted to be in the trenches day after day, 7 clients a day. Like, and part of why I think I chose him was that he had that model. And my mom was a therapist.
David Rayleigh is who you're
David
talking
Rayleigh.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and my mom was a therapist, and she opened her own therapy practice, and so my desire in relating in that way, I have Venus in the 7th house, like, the client work is something that I've always been interested in, and he was doing that, and he was able to say, like, if you're serious about this, then you have to be very professional. I recommend going a very professional route if you're gonna do this, and so ESAR was part of that story for me, the International Society of Astrological Research, and so it was always kind of on my radar that I would get credentialed through them. And um, I respected that credential in a way. But I think what was the reason that I was bringing this up? I think that when we both hit a roadblock, right? There have been a lot of changes to ESAR. ESAR expanded into CAP ESAR, which is just the branch of. I don't even know if it's got its own separate affiliation. There was question around that, but it's now working in conjunction with ESAR to really focus on getting professional astrologers certified with the CAP ESAR credential. And that involves the CAP exam, electives, consulting skills, and ethics training. So those are the 4 legs. That's been that way for quite a long time. So it is like a multifaceted process. And when you get that, so when you and I hit the same roadblock, because it was like, well, not the same roadblock, but we both hit a roadblock at the same time. And I just think it's so funny because I told he's very interested in your process, and he's like, um, encouraged, hey, he should take it again next year. I took it again in the following year, and I won't share his personal experience, but it's like that dig into that more and be like, okay, I'm going to, I'm going to study hard, and I don't care if I don't know who actually. I would have ethical questions too, but you could have gone the other route to be like, I am a good astrologer. I'm going to study hard. I'm going to take it again. I'm going to, see if I can. You were going the Promethean route, and I know that I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but I just think it's interesting because do we even need? It raises the question around how are things changing? Why do we need credentialing? It's like you've said to me before. Okay, well, I could tell that you were probably a pretty professional because you've got credentials. So it's like, when are credentials something that we can trust a person and like give them a chance, or we know that they serve a purpose or an important function of being like, it weeds out the, what do you call them, the charlatans? It's how, if we don't need credentials to do that, because I think sometimes they can be really misleading. Credentials can be really misleading. Or not having a credential can be misleading because it makes an assumption that a person isn't qualified. And so, like, what is the relationship of credentials and astrology? How important are they? I think that's like a really big, larger conversation,
Well, yeah. I mean, it's almost, it's like we're in archetypal waters here, really, because for instance, when I met Frank Salzano at Firefly, I mentioned, hey, I took the ESAR exam, and he was like, what's that? And here's a guy, he's got his own astrological school.
Yeah.
He's being interviewed with Gemini Brett
Right.
on Gemini Brett's got him coming on his podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a successful local astrologer on podcast with a very successful, international astrologer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
he's got the teaching and the consulting. He's got all the components and kind of the heart or the passion for astrology. So, and he'd never heard of the exam, right?
yeah. And,
yeah.
And I always think of that Joseph Campbell interview where he's talking about the baseball player and footnotes, and basically, it's like your own authority, like operating from your own authority because you know what you're talking about. You don't need the footnotes. You don't need to appeal to authority because you know what you're talking about.
Right.
And when that's the case, you don't need to be credentialed because you know what you're talking about. Now, other people, so the credentials is the signal for other people so they can be like, okay, I can listen to this person because society, this gate kept entry into whatever says. So it's a type of heuristic. Like, it's like a 4-year college degree, right? What does a 4-year college degree say now? Well, it says that it might just say that, you come from wealth and your parents paid for a 4-year degree piece of paper, and all you did was get drunk and smoke weed and party and have a bunch of wild,
Yeah. And barely get by with C's, or, like you showed up to class, but you were hungover most of the time, but you
had a 4-year bacchanalia,
Yeah. Yeah. But you could write a paper, or you have a certain level of it. It does show a certain capacity or an
it's
ability
supposed to.
Yeah.
You don't even need to write a paper now. AI will do it for you.
Yeah. Well, and that ties in because, okay, especially with like not to jump straight head deep into AI, but to reference it, when you can get information from sources so easily today, not having some kind of credential, it's like I could tell you with every bit of authority that the moon is in Virgo today because AI told me. The moon's not in Virgo today.
No.
But I feel like an authority because I have independently gone and consulted a legitimate source. So if you don't know that if I have no credential and I'm telling you that the moon is in Virgo, how do you believe me? Is it intuitively? Is it, if I say if the moon is in Virgo and I say it with confidence, the same confidence that I had before, but I also have, a CAP or an CAP ESAR certificate, or I studied at this, that, or the other school, right? There's not just one credential, but I took the NCGGR exam, for example. Like, are you going to believe me more? Are you going to trust me more? It's
Not
trust.
you, because you're a whole sign house, and NCGR does not. And
Recognize that.
I have the proof right here in the Education Curriculum and Study Guide for Certification Testing, the Professional Astrologers Alliance, the NCGR Professional Astrologers Alliance.
Yeah.
And in this, I could turn to the page. It says they recognize all house systems, but they do not recognize whole sign house or equal house. Says it in here.
Interesting. Okay. So great. And look at that. You got a source and an authority. Now, obviously you can disagree. It can be an authority, but you can still disagree with it. But the legitimacy of their point of view has good logic and backing, and there's history behind it. So we always when we read books, when we read any book that we read that we think is worth anything, we're giving authority to somebody. Like
That's all astrology.
Right. So
authority.
Right. So if they didn't have that is authority. You've got like a stack of authority behind you. Yeah. Whether you agree, disagree, like there's credentials there. There's like letters behind a lot of those people's names. So it's not that it doesn't matter, or it's illegitimate, or it's not positive in some way, because we're constantly giving authority to outside sources, right? We can't be our own authority all the time.
The guy that failed my essay question, I promise you, he does not have an armillary sphere that he put together. I don't know this factually, but I bet he does not have an armillary sphere.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is this my credential? And I could talk about this intelligently and explain what this is and what it means, and
Yeah. But see, and I think that's like a really powerful, powerful symbol that you even brought that up or showed that, because I don't think that the credentials tell us, they don't tell us what we know, right? Like they can't measure the full capacity or extent of what we know. And it almost becomes our bondage, which is probably why you're Promethean about it. To try to fit into boxes. Like you said, if we're motivated externally to get something to affirm our worth, is essentially what it is. In a way, our motives for getting a credential could be very, very different, right? Between people.
Yes.
Where it's like, if I want to be, my goal was, if I'm going to do astrology, I want to be a really good astrologer. I don't want to be a just cheap bottom of the barrel, like, whatever, ask an AI astrologer. No offense. The AI wasn't even around back then, but I wanted to be, and I knew that if I passed that test at that time, I was in my mid-20s, that would tell me that I was a good enough astrologer.
That's what I've been struggling with.
Right. And I needed that because I was looking to know and to understand in relation to other astrologers whether I was good or not. I had distorted perceptions of my own intelligence. I didn't see myself clearly. All that goes to my own shit around my intellectual ability or intellectual insecurity. So sometimes it can come from insecurity, but at the same time, it gave me something that on the journey of getting that was self-individuating and important. And it gave me confidence that I needed then to start consulting with people and feel assured that what I was offering them. And I think it is different with a consulting astrologer. When you're working one-on-one with somebody, I don't want to mislead anybody. I don't want to take somebody else's time or their money and then lead them astray, right? That ethically was very important to me. So I think, your motives and your reasons and what you're trying to accomplish have a lot to do with whether or not you want to go that route. And if you're teaching, I mean, nobody says, like you said, Frank's teaching. He's a great teacher. He's got students. He's got authenticity. like, you don't have to have that to teach if you want to teach. You don't have to have it to do any kind of consulting work, you know? So it's a head game at that point.
Yeah. And, I don't know. And the thing is, like it's the same, not talking about astrology, just talking about college in general. Like with college, like I dropped out of college.
Yeah.
So, the reasons for that are different than this, but still these things happened. My relation to the credentialing process, this is nothing new. The thing that's new about this is that I actually sought out the credential, but I didn't go to any classes that ESAR offers. They offer plenty of classes I could have paid to do to prepare for this. You know what I mean? I didn't do any. All I did was read all these books, and then start hand calculating charts, and then start playing with a compass and a straight edge and making charts, and then like so. But that knowledge, that's the thing with credentials. It's like it just all that says is that I have that knowledge, or I should have that knowledge. Right? It's like I said, it's heuristic for society. It's like a 4-year degree that says this person is competent to a 4-year college degree level. But the reality now is that it doesn't say that. Like it's like the value of money, like the value of the dollar. It's only worth $1 because we all agree,
Right,
that the value of $1 is $1.
right.
But that doesn't stop inflation from making that reality disagree with our agreement as society, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the same thing that you see happening now with college education, with AI in general. Like the one thing I've recently come to the realization is that the AI now, you can use it to write for you, right? But you can't use it to produce the words out of your mouth unless you're reading what it says. But like in conversation with people, me and you talking, take the digital away, where me and you are doing this in person. We're not that far. We're 40 miles away from each other. We could be doing this in person, in which case you would see that I'm not reading a script and that it's me talking. AI is never going to be able to do that for me.
Right.
Unless like Neuralink becomes a thing, and now I can read and you don't see what I'm reading because it's just in my mind, and now I can just read it. And it's like, maybe that'll happen. I mean, Neuralink is supposedly a thing. And here again, it's like now we're back to the AI waters again, which it seems to me these two issues are fundamentally tied together now. Because it's like if AI becomes just something that everybody has, we all have access to it, then why would you, what do you need? It's going to be so easy to get to the point. It's like, what do you need to go to college for? Why do you need to go learn all this information? Why do you need to study? Why do you need to remember anything? You don't need to. AI, if you want to know something, you just ask your Black Mirror and it'll tell you. And if you're willing to believe that's true, then what do you need your brain for? What do you need your body for?
Yeah.
And then all you got to do is believe that we're gonna download our consciousness, at the singularity, and we're not going to need our bodies anymore. And the very powerful people who are responsible for this technology believe exactly that in 20 years, I don't know what Ray Kurzweil, or how you say, whatever his newest, what the latest word from his, opinion about the matter is, but it's like 20 years or something like that, less than 20 years. Last I heard, he was like, we're going to be downloaded into the singularity is going to happen, and we're going to download our consciousness into the internet, and we're not going to need our physical bodies anymore, and we're all going to be immortal. And this is something that people believe. Intelligent people at the cutting edge of scientific information and knowledge, the most intelligent guy in the room,
Mm-hmm.
in all the rooms,
Mm-hmm.
believed this.
Mm-hmm. Ascension, basically.
Yeah. So do you believe that? Right? If you do believe that, then what do you need a college degree for? What do you need to study for? Because you're going to have access to all the information. Why would you need, what's a college degree going to be now?
Yeah. Well, and that's why I don't think the primary meaning of life comes from knowledge. It's knowledge and how much we know or what we don't know. A test that you take and you miss by 5 points, you still know everything that you knew before you took that test. You actually know way more, right? Because you've been learning since you took it. So it's nothing changed as far as what you knew. And what you don't know, it's not like there's nothing, it doesn't tell you anything different about whether you're no less capable of doing what you were capable of doing before. Your knowledge level is the same or more because you've been studying. But I guess like knowledge is meaning, right? Knowledge does allow us to make meaning. Knowledge as it's expressed in written language or verbal language allows us to construct meaning, but the primary meaning of my soul or my existence, like love, it sounds really like cheesy, but like the state of being, that isn't something that knowledge can contribute to. It's the state of being is almost the opposite of intellectual knowledge. It's like what the Eastern religions and meditation and yogic practices are trying to get us to do, which is shut off our brain.
Yeah, the monkey
And
mind.
right. And like to be able to just be and to
Mm-hmm.
embody reality or existence in a way that doesn't
That's the
require.
word right there, embody.
Yeah.
AI
And
can't embody. It doesn't have a body. And in fact, that is the problem with artificial intelligence
mhm,
that is insurmountable, that they have not been able to, at least and this was a couple of years ago when I was following these things, but a couple of years ago, it was like, that was like the threshold we couldn't pass, is like embodying AI.
mhm,
There's a problem there. It's like a fundamental thing they can't figure out.
mhm, mhm.
I
Yeah.
can't really say much more about, technically, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, but
Right.
I believe in a soul and a spirit and metaphysical spiritual things, like, and that those things are important,
Mhm,
right? And
mhm.
those things, that's meaning, that's purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
thinking about this morning. I was like, we our species, like, it may very well be that our meaning, like our purpose, is meaning making for like the universe. And that's in fact why we have intelligence, right? To create meaning. And it doesn't mean like postmodern where it's just whatever we say,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
I'm not saying that. But
Right.
I'm saying like that our purpose is to create purpose.
Right. Right. And that's part of why like the hero's journey and individuation and like that individual soul, if you want to think of it like that, is so critical because it is the embodiment of individual meaning that creates a different alternative to the automation and the kind of the computerization that artificial intelligence is heralding in. And but it's not, I think I can get, or we can get some people, and especially where like capitalism and economics intersect with I think people can get really, really threatened. One, in the idea that AI can do for us better than what we can do as humans ourselves, and how that's going to impact us on like very material, very, concrete levels. It's like, well, you might have to stay embodied, but nothing else does. So good luck finding something to eat, like unless you know how to garden and, you live out on a mountainside somewhere, right? But like, so there are legitimate threats, there are legitimate downfalls. It's not just the theoretical, like, I make myself feel better. Because sometimes I do. I think I can be pretty like, well, yeah, but people are always going to need human interaction. They're always going to need other humans to feel connection and love, and that there's this like this the disembodiment of humanity is what's going to drive psychosis. And the only solution for psychosis is human interaction or love, or I'm talking about like mass psychosis, or like that kind of trend toward losing touch with uh connectivity to what that life meaning is on an individual level, um so yeah, I mean, I think like part of the astrology deal is that we are fundamentally like humans are feeling creatures, and whatever we're involved in. I mean, you could have sat down and talked to Chat GPT this morning instead of me, and you might be better off for it. Like, you might have a better plan for your life. You might have much better advice. I'm sure of it. Like, like, but would you have, and I mean, I'm speaking kind of specifically to this because we're in it, but like, would you have had human interaction? And do you need human interaction? Because I think like we humans really do. And we need it more and more and more. We will need it more than ever, like in the coming years. Whatever smarts we think we have within, whatever knowledge chat GPT can give us or plan for our lives, like, yeah, we're still individuals and we have to execute a plan, and AI can be really logical and it can help with a lot of stuff. But we're going to be incredibly lonely and disconnected, and life will not have meaning if we don't stay connected to other humans, right?
Well,
And I'm saying this to the hermit over here, by the way.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the perniciousness of this, because speaking from experience with my children, especially my younger 12-year-old, all he wants to do is be on a screen. Like, full stop. There's nothing else he wants to do. And a big part of that, the most addictive outside of the video games, he is most addicted to YouTube, specifically watching people play video games on YouTube, which I cannot understand. I just can't understand. Why would you want to watch other people play when you can just play? And it's a full-blown addiction. He cannot stop himself. If he can gain access to a screen and watch YouTube, and there's any small chance that he can get away with it, he's no compunction. He'll lie, cheat, steal, whatever to get that screen and watch YouTube. And it's like all his friends, that's what they're doing. All of his friends are gaming on screens, YouTubing. They all want to be YouTube stars. Wendy was telling me a story about one of her workmates has a 4-year-old, and he wants his dad to film him making his bed, and he's talking to his audience on YouTube. Hey, I'm whoever, I'm going to make my bed. I'm making my bed now, and talking about making, because that's what people do, like on YouTube, right? And it's like the cognitive dissonance for me. Here I am on a podcast doing exactly the same thing, talking. So Wendy's like, yeah, but that's not different. It's intellectual, and we're talking, and yeah, it is. It is different, but
this is the thing. I think the common denominator and the humanness under both is that we all want to be seen. We want to be seen.
Yeah.
We want to be seen we want to really be seen. It's not, it matters by who, but what matters more than that is like the capacity for who is seeing us. So I think like, you know what I mean? It's like, how do I explain it? It's like the quality of the seer matters, but in lieu of the quality of a seer, people will just take being seen in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah, attention is the fundamental currency.
Attention, yes.
That's why the Eye of Ra, right? It floats like the Eye of Ra, and it's looking.
Right.
What are you paying attention to?
Right.
What is paying attention to you? That's the whole thing with animism.
Right.
Everything is paying attention in that
Mhm.
paradigm, right?
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
the table is paying attention, like the walls are, the books, like everything in that,
Yeah.
particular perspective.
Right.
So
So
there's this quality though.
mhm.
AI can't pay attention,
Right. Right. It can
but
mock. It can
it
mimic.
exactly. It
Right.
is it, but nothing sentient is there. So like
Yes.
that's why the whole thing with like information, your information privacy, and like being on Facebook and your TV's watching, and you
Yeah.
like our screens are always next to us, and you say, I can say, I want a pair of Nike Air Jordans. I
Mhm.
guarantee you, I could get on my device now and get on Facebook and scroll, and there's going to be a shoe advertisement. Like it's listening, right?
Yeah.
But there's nothing there.
Right.
It's just
Right.
AI algorithms,
Yeah.
digibits. Like there's not a person on the other end of that
Right. Right.
paying attention.
And I think that's part of why podcasting has become really popular. It's one of the reasons because not necessarily for the podcasters, although I'm sure. I mean, there's a productive element and a like what's the word I'm thinking of, but it's the fact of the creative. Something is being created in a way, just with that idea of almost like the Foucaultian like panopticon, right? That the idea of somebody watching changes the one being watched, right? The awareness of being watched changes the dynamic, not in any
Yeah.
kind of conscious way,
The
right?
observer effect.
Yes. And so that like with regards to like AI and being mimicked to be
Mm.
seen,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of projection happens, right?
Yeah.
Like
How is
so,
that playing in the human psyche is what you're saying.
right,
When
yeah,
something that's not sentient is watching,
yeah. And
but it's not sentient.
somebody was telling me yesterday that people like they've had to change the way that AI functions. I don't know, I haven't looked into the source on this, but that people were literally like leaving their families and their spouses to go be with their AI soulmate.
Oh,
So,
I believe it. I'm seeing it, like I said, with my children. I'm
right.
seeing it is this question with my children. It is constant. It is relentless. It's like
Oh,
I told Wendy the other night. I was like, it's like we're trying to um titrate the amount of air that they're allowed to breathe now, right? It's like that. It's like we're saying you can only breathe this much air.
like we're suffocating, like there's a suffocating of like they're suffocating when they don't have it. Is that what you're saying? Like they
No,
don't have access to air
yeah,
when they don't have their tablets.
like they have to have air now. Like you have to have air to live.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now they're
it's like we're trying to say, yeah, but you can only, because
yeah.
it's like I can see it in him. I can see it. Like he will, if you take the screens away, he'll just sit there like and read graphic novels. But a lot of times I wonder if he's just, a lot of times he's just sitting there. He's just sitting there,
Well, he's
like
probably trying to
blank,
decompress.
just
Yeah.
blankness, just
Mm-hmm.
nothing, just bored, just sitting there, just bored, just waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And in his case, it's been waiting for when he can steal a screen back because we took him away.
Yeah. Well, I
And
know
it's constant.
I can relate a lot because I mean, my 7 and 10-year-old, and they're 7 and 10, and they love
Yeah.
games, and so I completely resonate with everything you're saying. And particularly my youngest, the addiction is stronger, and
Yeah.
fighting a tidal wave to pull her back into reality. She's a Pisces. But like trying to, it's reality is really painful when you spend so much of your time, and this is 12th house kind of theme stuff too, in a way, with like escaping before you even realize you're escaping, and not being able
Yeah.
to understand the dynamics of
Never
the difference.
engaging to begin with
Right.
at
Right.
that age.
Right. And
You
so
just
that's,
escaped the beginning and you never even engaged.
yeah.
And my youngest, when we gave him his iPhone, he was 7.
Mm.
And like, oh my God, now I have so much guilt about that.
You didn't know that it was going to
I had
create
no
the
idea that
challenges.
because I related to it as the only way I knew how, which is how we related to them, which was children of the 80s, right? Like
Yeah.
watching TV, playing video games, but like that is not the same thing. Like
Yeah.
playing Nintendo, playing Super Nintendo that
Mhm.
wasn't connected to the internet,
Yeah.
that was
But think
connected
about
via a cord to the
yeah.
thing, like they were all cord connected.
But
Like
also think about too with that, like Nintendo, we would play that all day long, addictively, 12 hours a day. My mom was gone all the time. She worked all the time. That's how I mean, okay. And guess what? I still, you know, I probably have some really compulsive habits as a result of early life trauma and ways of finding and coping with that through playing Nintendo 12 hours a day. And my sister was the worst at it because like I would go out and play and swim and Mars and Aries and
that's
I'd
the
go,
difference.
yeah. But I would also play, but I couldn't play for hours on end. But you're saying it kind of takes away the agency of being
I'm
able to
saying
like
I'm
cut
saying
it.
for us, we went out and played. Like I didn't play for 12 hours. I would play Nintendo. I mean, maybe during the summer,
Mhm, mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe because it was fucking hot and I
yeah.
didn't want to go outside or whatever. Like I'm just gonna
Uh-huh,
be lazy.
uh-huh.
But even then, I had a buddy of mine sitting next to me. We were cutting up playing video games together.
Yeah, but the kids, that's weird too. Like you said, they're together, but they're virtually together.
They're not together though. That's exactly right. Like, but we're not together right now
Right.
in
Exactly.
physical space.
Right. And that's
So
it's so it's interesting to think about that too, because it's like, well, something else emerges, a different way of relating that is not rooted in presence. It does happen. It emerges. It exists on a different plane, but it's still a form of relating, at least to another human. Like at least they're relating to other humans in some kind of time space reality, right?
well, and also,
As opposed to AI.
and again, to use what we're doing as an
Mhm.
example, like we do actually meet up in person.
Yeah.
If you were on the other side of the world, and my chances of ever like actually hanging out with you in real life were like
Right.
I had to go to the other side of the world to do it,
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like that would be different. It would
Right.
be a different relationship.
Yeah.
We do this because it's convenient.
Yeah. Right.
But you could make the same argument for my 12-year-old, right? I don't want to drive him 40 minutes across town to hang out with one of his friends. But even if I did, all they're going to do is sit there and play video games anyway. That's what they do.
You're just
Seriously.
working smarter,
I've
not harder.
like literally done it. And it's like, as a parent, it's like, well, what's my kid doing?
Yeah.
Well, when I was 12, I was out smashing up a building and, doing God knows what else that we did back then, like
Yeah.
to get in trouble. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Yeah.
now it's like, what are my kids doing? Oh, they're just in their room
Yeah.
having a good
Yeah.
time. Like I don't have to worry anything about where they're at, what they're doing. Don't have to worry about them getting in trouble. Like
Mhm.
so, it's like addictive as a parent. That part is addictive too.
Mhm. Yeah, it
So the
is.
whole thing is just this addictive, like
Insidious ease and
yes, it's
comfort.
insidious.
Mhm.
It
That
is, and
has
it's like,
consequences. Yeah.
and to their
It's very
psyche,
Neptunian.
right? And like, what is it going to do to them?
Yeah.
And so contrast that, all of that, right,
Mhm.
with my basket making and what I'm doing, right? I go out into wild nature,
Mhm.
literally grab kudzu vines and wrangle them out of trees, like pull them out. Sometimes I pull branches off of trees
Mhm.
to get the kudzu, right?
Mhm.
And then bamboo, go out there too. There's a grove back there I go into. It's just a wild grove. And I go and I get a cane and I bring them back. And I'm like physically with nature,
Mhm.
taking them apart and crafting and like intimately engaging with these natural plants to make a container. Like
Mhm.
it's primordial, right? Like hunter gathering. Like
Mhm.
you couldn't gather without something to gather into. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's
Well,
that long ago.
but so the parallel I'm drawing for that for my like and how it connects to astrology is that like I work with real people, clients, and I can't relate astrology unless I have somebody to relate it to. So astrology is that for me when I'm one-on-one or working with a client's actual life. And part of what gives that sense of fulfillment, like I'm hearing you describe, that's very fulfilling when you do that, because
Mm-hmm.
you're connected to something very real in that case, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is like my consulting work with clients, because I have the real interaction of a real relationship
Mm-hmm.
that really means something to me, but also hopefully gives insight and meaning to them and their life. And kind of similarly with like the podcast, why I'm good with doing this podcast is because I think at some point it will be relevant and important in a larger context for how people connect personally to astrology, but also um, that it's got relatability for me right now, and what it's helping me develop, and and how it's allowing me to develop as a person intellectually, but also as an astrologer, you know, professionally, and in multiple kind of ways, developmentally. But I think when like to there was something I was going to say about why people like podcasts, because when they hear it, they feel like they have somebody personally talking with them. They have thoughts that are forming in relation to actual real people and their ideas. And that personal element, I think, or at least the sense of a personal element or a direct relationship, is really important and you know, powerful. And with your Virgo energy and kind of what you're describing, your relationship to the earth and to you know, the elements, that provides significant kind of meaning for you. That's kind of how I'm
Well, I
yeah.
feel like it's more than that.
Mhm.
Beyond me personally,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it
Yeah.
speaks to AI and tech and all like that. And what I'm doing is like completely opposite. AI
You're
can't make a
preserving
basket.
something. You're preserving,
Yes.
just like I feel like in human relationship, I'm preserving something of the relational element between people and understanding from a personal point of view. But anyway, yeah. So
So yeah, a lot of this is like the birth. It's like growing pains in a way too, with
uh-huh.
society and human and a human experience,
Pluto and
because
Aquarius, yeah.
Gemini, Uranus, because like
Mhm.
it's but again, for me personally, I'm also like, I have that strong earth signature, and I also have a very strong air signature. So like my
Mhm.
peopling, I can get like this.
Mhm. Mhm.
Very fulfilling for me.
Mhm.
What we're doing
Mhm.
is with this podcast, it's a very fulfilling relationship wise for me. I get my people, all the peopling I need outside my family. I pretty much, it's
Mhm.
covered just doing this with you.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
But I'm not typical in that way, I would say.
Mhm.
Right. Most people
Mhm.
need more than that.
Mhm.
But now with tech, with the way things are, even the people who need more than that, the kids that are growing up, right?
Mm.
And they need
Mhm.
more than just that. They're not even
Mhm.
going to know that. They're probably
Right.
just going to have this emptiness
Mm.
or this vacuum, right?
Uh-huh.
This ennui, this melancholy that's like beneath the surface, deep beneath the surface. And it'll just manifest as probably depression.
Mhm.
It'll, right? And
Mhm.
addiction.
Mhm.
It's really addiction. And what I'm dealing with my 12-year-old is addiction.
Mhm.
He's addicted to it.
Mhm.
That is crazy,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's not hyperbolic, but
Right.
it's also the waters that we have to swim in now. It's the air that we have to breathe. So as it's the challenge for humanity. It's not just parents. Like, we're the ones on the front lines right now because we're raising the next generation of people.
So, yeah, like I think in terms of, so it just made me think of this definition. It's for cold depression, which was one of the during the age of Aquarius and the acceleration and the speeding up of technology that um was talked about, like from a Kundalini yoga perspective years and years ago, where, you know, it was kind of like when technology advances to such a speed that we get information overload, then this concept of cold depression is going to kick in. And when you were talking about your children, it really made me think of it. But the explanation or the definition that Dr. Shanti Kaur, who is, you know, she has done a lot with like grief and dying and depression, but she defines it like this: cold depression is when the external demand is greater than the internal capacity to deliver, and we have spent our reserves. We are depressed, but we are so numb and insensitive to our own self, we do not feel it. The depression is therefore cold. This leads us to inner anger and isolation from our soul. Cold depression challenges us as we enter the Aquarian age through 2038. It affects the vitality of our spirit. And so, you know, there's like meditations you can do to try to help with that cold depression, but that is an outgrowth of this influx and this overwhelm of technology that the age of Aquarius is ushering in. And that key word being the insensitivity to our own self, because and you know, it's like you've journaled from the time you were really young, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have too. And that sense of connection to self is what is lost when we lose that ability to self-reflect in a way, because of this like over consumption of and this addiction. We're disconnected from ourselves. And
Yeah, that's
so
what you were when you said projection. I think what you were talking about. Like
Mhm.
you can project all of that work you're not doing,
Mhm. Mhm.
that all the individual, which as a kid, right? Like, but
Yeah.
it's earlier development, right? But
Right.
like you can find all of that on the screen,
Mhm.
and then it does the job.
Mhm.
And then it's and it stops progression, like natural progression.
Mhm.
It's like a failure launch, or like
Mhm.
um del-
Developmentally.
yeah, what there's a term I'm looking for, when you stop developing. uh
Stagnation or
no, oh god, I arrested development, that's the term
uh
I was looking for. Yeah, it
uh-huh.
arrests your development, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And then you become addicted to it, because then there's nothing there for you, because like if well, first of all, why 2038? What happens then? Is it
So
astrology? Is that it's
the period coincides, it I think it ties in with Vedic astrology and timing and
okay?
cycles.
Okay.
But from what I can gather, it is connected to the Pluto cycle and Pluto's tr- uh transit through the sign of Aquarius, but it's a little
Oh,
bit,
for Vedic though,
well,
because they're gonna be off
it coincides
from
fairly close.
tropical.
I did look it up, and it does seem like
Well, you
there's a
said 2038, and I was like, what? Because my astrology, I was like, what planet is she talking about? Like, what aspect? What something
yeah,
is timing that?
I believe it's Pluto, because even though like Vedic sidereal, like ancient Vedic doesn't do Pluto. They didn't,
Hmm.
you know, have that. It's about time frame wise, I would need to calculate it, but it does seem to coincide with the Pluto, because Pluto will be in Aquarius until 2044. But if you were to throw that back some with the Vedic and calculate it with sidereal, then I think it's closer to um, you know, there's a connection there. But yeah.
So what the point? I'm sorry, I totally
Uh-huh.
squirreled on that, because
No,
like
that's okay.
you said that, and I wanted to say something, and then I moved on, and then I was like squirrel, and went back to it. So
Oh, okay.
sorry,
It's okay.
but
I follow.
my point, what I was getting at is like what I'm concerned with, what is gonna what our children,
Mhm.
you know,
The impact.
in 20, when they hit their midlife, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, I don't want to be pessimistic, but you know, but then also it's like, too, it's like at this point we're all in. I mean, because tech, it's like, you know, it all depends on petroleum. And I don't necessarily need to go into that here on this podcast. I mean,
At least
but
not
you know what I'm,
today, right?
yeah, I mean, definitely we should. I mean,
Mhm.
peak
Mhm.
oil, and just, a civilization built on a non-renewable resource.
It's problematic.
Yeah. And AI, requires electricity, you know.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
anyways, I don't want to go doomer on
Hmm.
and all like that. But what I'm saying is, we damn sure better figure out fusion and keep
Yeah.
this Star Trek trajectory, because if we don't, but then it's also like, well, you know what, if civilization ends because we run out of energy, then is it really going to matter that you are addicted to screens or not when like just-in-time trucking stops and all the grocery store shelves are emptied anyway? Like, is it really going to, you know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like, I struggle with that too, because I'm like, I don't want to keep this from my children. We sent them to public school because they needed peer orientation. And then it's like, it just so happens that their peer orientation is on the screen now. All they want to do is be on the screen. So it's like, well, that doesn't fix anything. Like, we sent them there to be, and now they're alone together and at school, and then they come home and they're all together now on their screen. So it's like, oh man,
well, I think the good news is that, like you said, they do have computers at school, but I don't think they have access. School is a break from it, and it requires some soul searching, on the part of, like, as a parent for me, because as you said, the path of least resistance is just to let them do it and read books, because I read books and they want to be on that, and I want to read books, or I want to study what I want to study. So it's hard to say no and set those boundaries, but I think it really could be about balance and really the accountability of setting those boundaries, which are much, much, much more difficult in reality than in theory. At least that's been my experience, and I think a lot of other people probably can relate to that.
Well, how do you set a boundary if you give them a cell phone, if you give them a black mirror connected to the internet, which it's not a black mirror if it's not connected to the internet, then where's the boundary at?
Well, and I mean, the parameters that can be set up with, like, some of those
the family, like the child lock stuff, like all that, that's where we're at.
But and you have to, I mean, and it's pretty, and the age is kind of, it doesn't necessarily lessen the impact, but it's just different sets of concerns at different ages and stuff like that. So but I think it'll be interesting. I mean, there's certainly a collective formation of the results of what's happening with technology. So, and I think you're on to something with, like, the concerns around isolation, depression, and some of the more negative psychological impacts that it could have, but I think as humans, like even us now, having what we have in the way of experience, not on tablets or whatever, I think we're having to navigate that and hold on to reality in a way that feels tenuous at times too, so, or our concept of what is real, So.
Well, and I don't know. I mean, like I said, I know my nature, and I'm Aquarian by nature, and I have a lot of air, and my peopling, like I said, this works for me. Like, I don't need to be, I don't like being, I'm hermity anyway. Like, I don't like being around people very much. And when I do, it needs to be like individual and on individual, not in a group. I can't stand being in a group.
Really? Huh.
Not unless I have a like when I'm teaching, I'm fine. Like I said, I've talked about it before, because it's a defined,
purpose.
socially defined.
Right. Yeah.
But just put me in a group. Like, we had to go to the day school had a new parent orientation, and they had at the end of it was like a social, where all the parents, we just all ended up in this room, and of course they're serving beer and wine, and I don't drink. Like, that's social lubrication. Like, when I was social, I was drinking. Like, I had to drink to socialize, and I'm not doing that. I can't drink, so I just about would rather repeatedly hit my hand with a hammer than be in a room full of people where it's just like, we're socializing. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm leaving. Bye. You know what I mean? I'm not doing this shit. Y'all get to drink, and you can feel each other's, emotions, and like you talk small talk and like you just relate to each other on superficial like levels and shit. And I can't do that. So,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, I have to
Yeah.
talk about what is the meaning of time and what is your purpose as a what is your daemon here to do? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you
Yeah.
can't talk about that at a social.
Yeah. It was funny earlier. Something you were saying, you were like, over breakfast this morning, I was thinking about, and then it was like some kind of like existential whatever. And I was just like laughing. I was about to say like, over your Cheerios. I just asking these basic
Yeah.
questions about life. But yeah, I can relate. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I feel like we can talk a lot more about AI at some point, and I think we've covered a lot today.